A very good morning to all. Today we'll start a new chapter, chapter number 5, and the name of the chapter is Early Empires. So what do you understand by empires? Here empire means group of state or countries which comes under a single monarch, that is a king or group. So we'll be discussing about the early empires in this chapter. Now here in page number 42, you can see big idea, that means the topics which we'll be discussing in this chapter, and the topics are Janapadas and Mahajanapadas. Second point, types of governments, monarchies and Janasanghas. The third point, agriculture, trade and society, and the case study about Magadha kingdom and Vaji. And here you can see a flow chart. The heading is Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, under which we have subtopics: rise of monarchies and republics, that is Magadha emerged as the most important Mahajanapada. Then we have improvements in agriculture by the use of iron and use of techniques like paddy transplantation. Then we have increase in trade, under which we have the formation of merchant guilds, then the emergence of seaports on the west coast. Then we have the religious changes, that is the Varna system and the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. So we will be discussing all these topics in this chapter. In the history maker, you can see the picture of Panini. He was a Sanskrit grammarian in ancient India, and you all know that Sanskrit was the classical literary language of ancient India, and it was considered that Panini was the founder of this language, and his work, that is Astadhyayi, was written by Panini, and it contains the rules on Sanskrit grammar, and it also consists of 3996 sutras or highly compressed and condensed statements. This means that very meaningful statements. This was about Panini. Now here you can see the Jivi Karma Monastery in Rajagin in Bihar. So here monastery means a building or buildings occupied by the community of monks who dedicated their life for the religion. So you can see the remains of Jivi Karma Monastery, and here you can see the picture of Jivika. So he was a physician during the rule of Magadhan, that is King Bimbisara, and we will be discussing about the kingdom of Magadha in this chapter. And also here in page number 42, you can see a timeline with 3 divisions, that is the first one from 900 to 700 BCE, second division 699 to 500 BCE, and the third division from 499 to 300 BCE. And here you can see that around 600 BCE there was the rise of monarchies and kingdoms, and around 544 BCE Bimbisara of Haryanka dynasty ascends the throne of Magadha, and around 493 BCE Ajatashatru ascends the throne of Magadha. So we will be discussing these topics in this chapter. And we have already discussed that in the early Vedic period, the Rajans were elected as the head of the tribe, and they were elected on the basis of their ability in war. But around 600 BCE, changes took place in the manner in which the Rajans were chosen. Here, some men now became Rajans by displaying their extraordinary bravery or ability in the war, also by promising the subjects to protect them from the enemies, and also by performing big sacrifices. And here at this time, the kings, they performed sacrifices to show their strength. And the most common sacrifice performed by the powerful kings was Ashmaveda sacrifice or the horse sacrifice. So let's discuss about this sacrifice. So here Ashmaveda sacrifice or the horse sacrifice was an important royal ritual mentioned in the Vedic text. And here the kings, they performed these sacrifices to show their strength. So here a horse or a stallion was set loose to roam around for a period of 1 year. So here stallion means an adult male horse which was used for breeding. So here a horse or a stallion was set loose to roam around for a period of 1 year. And if the horse, they enter into any kingdoms of other kings, and if they stop it, then they had to fight with the king whose horse they had stopped. And if they allowed the horse to pass through it, that means they are ready to accept the authority of that Rajan or that king. So this sacrifice was an occasion for the kings to receive many gifts from other kings who came to see this sacrifice. So here the king's chief queen or Mahishi played an important role in this ritual. So this was about Ashwamedha sacrifice. So we can say that the kings who performed these big sacrifices gradually came to be known as the kings of Janapadas rather than Janas. That is, the Rajans of the Janas came to be known as the kings of the kingdoms or Janapadas. So let's understand what this term Janapada means. Here Jana means people and Pada means foot. That means foothold of the Janas. That is the territory where the Janas settled. And here territory is an area or land that comes under the control of a single person like the king. So there were several Janapadas which were named after the tribe and also after the name of the Jana, that is the people who lived there. So by around 600 BCE, many Janapadas had become bigger and powerful, and they came to be known as the great kingdoms or the Mahajanapada. Here Maha means big. So you must be thinking that from where we get all these informations. So we get all these informations from the Buddhist text and the Jain text. So Buddhist text, that is Anguttara Nikaya and Mahavastu, and the Jain text is Bhagavati Sutra. So from the Buddhist text and the Jain text, we get all these informations. And as per the Buddhist text and Jain text, there were 16 Mahajanapadas. That is, the first one, Kashi, Kosla, Anga, Magadha, Videha, Malla, Chedi, Vatsa, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Asmaka, Avanti, Gandhara, Kamboja. So these were the 16 Mahajanapadas. And now these people, they started exploring all over India, and you can see the 4 most important Mahajanapadas at their capitals. So here you can see the first Mahajanapada, Avanti, with its capital Ujjain and Mahishmati. The next one, Vatsa, with its capital Kausambi. The third one is Kosala, with its capital Ayodhya. Then the 4th most important Mahajanapada is Magadha, with its capital Rajagriha. So these were the 4 most important Mahajanapadas. Now let's go deeper into these Mahajanapada and understand their rules and political features. So here 2 types of governments existed. The first one is the republics and the second one is monarchies form of government. So here some of the Mahajanapadas were republics, or they were also known as Ghana Sanghas, which were ruled by group of people or a group of council. And some of the examples are the Republic of Vaji or Vriji. Next one is the monarchy form of government, that is, the kingdom was ruled by a king. For example, the kingdom of Khosla and the kingdom of Magadha. So we will be discussing them one by one. So here the first one is monarchy form of government. Under this government, the king became the supreme power and he ruled that particular Mahajanapada. And here the kingship was hereditary. That means the eldest son inherited the kingdom, became the king after the father. And here the king had absolute power and they were regarded as the protector of the society and dharma. And he was also assisted by amatyas or the officials or ministers while governing or while ruling that kingdom. He was also assisted by senapati during wars and conquering other kingdoms. Then he was also assisted by purohits while performing religious and social duties. So, the king was assisted by amatyas, senapati and purohits. And here the kings, they also had the standing armies to conquer other kingdoms and also to maintain law and order within the kingdoms. And here the soldiers were paid regular salaries by the king throughout the year, and they were paid in punch marked coins, that is the early coins. And you must be thinking from where the king get this much wealth. So here taxes were collected from the farmers, craftsmen, merchants, and these taxes were used as an income to give salaries to the soldiers for maintaining the army, for maintaining roads and for other welfare activities. So this was about the monarchy type of government. And here the Mahajanapadas, they had their own capitals where the king stayed, and it is the most developed region among all other places in this kingdom. And these capitals were also fortified with woods and bricks to protect from the enemies. And the king also had huge army and wealth. That means they had everything. So this was about the monarchy type of government. Now the next type of government is the republican government. And as we have discussed that some of the kingdoms or the Mahajanapadas were ruled by the king, and some of them were ruled by a group of people or a group of a council, and these kingdoms were known as the Ganas or the Ganarajas or the Gana Sanghas. So in such state, a group of people, that is especially the male heads of the particular families, they come together for discussion and take important decisions. And here in this republican state, the Kshatriyas were given the political power and they also owned most of the lands in this state. So like the Mahajanapadas, the Ghana Sanghas also had large capitals, and these capitals were fortified with bricks and woods in order to protect themselves from the enemies. So this was about the republican government. Now let's discuss about the agriculture during this period. As you all know that agriculture was the main occupation of the people during this period, and the farmers, they paid taxes, and these taxes were used for laying down the foundation of monarchical and republican government. So during this period, there was an increase in the production of grains by the use of two technologies, that is the use of iron and the technique of paddy transplantation. So here during this period, iron was extensively used. That means these irons were used for making tools and implements, and these tools were used in agriculture. So the iron became an important part of their life. The next one is the technique of paddy transplantation. So here the people, they learned this technique, that is the growing of saplings and then planting in the prepared field. In this type of plantation, saplings were grown and they planted it in the prepared field rather than scattering the seeds. So here the people, they also used the dasas and the karmakaras, that is the laborers, for working in the field. And because of these two technologies, there was an increase in the production of grains. Now, next let's discuss about the taxation. As we have discussed earlier, the kings, they needed resources to meet the expense of their kingdom, and the taxes were collected from the farmers, craftsmen, traders, hunters and gatherers. And these people, they had to pay 1/6 of the production, which was known as Shatbhaga. And another type of tax was known as Bali, but not much is known about this tax. And sometimes the tax was also collected in the form of labor, which was known as Vishti, and this was like offering free service to the king. So, this was about the taxation. Now, here you can see you have an activity. The first question is, which is the northernmost Mahajanapada? The second one is, which Mahajanapadas are outside the territory of present day India, and also in which country they are located. So, you have to write this answer and submit in Teams. That's all for today. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.